Okay, hello. I'm going to dive straight in because we have a really, really great call lined up for you. So, one thing that we always talk about at Boss Babe is doing things that move the needle, doing things that actually move the needle in our business and support the growth of our business, support the growth of ourselves and our vision. And so many questions that I get is, okay, Natalie, sounds good, but what does it mean? Like, tell me what I should be working on. And so I wanted to bring James Wedmore to this call, and he agreed. By the way, he never does private coaching sessions, so you're all really, really lucky. He agreed to come to this call, and we're going to talk about implementing needle movers in your business. James has an incredibly successful 8-figure company. He's really known for his signature program, Business by Design, which I am the biggest fan of. We're going to get into all of the things. One thing James has is what's called a CEO dashboard. So if you're in the society, you've all got a copy of it. If you're here on Instagram, comment the word CEO and we'll send you it right away. This dashboard is a game changer for every single entrepreneur. And I think it's the thing every entrepreneur should be looking at every single day. So we're going to get into all of that. So James, thank you for doing this firstly. Welcome. This is the Boss Babe community.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Natalie. I'm really excited.
How did the concept of having a CEO dashboard come up to you?
Oh boy. Well, you talk so much about the hustle culture and moving away from that. And that's something that I reached a point of hitting burnout. I got addicted to Adderall years ago and was working 14 hours a day and I had nothing to show for it. And I believe one of the reasons that that was causing that was two big ones. We want to do it all, and we don't even know what to focus on. So we're using busyness as a distraction from the focus of the 5%. And the 5% is what I tell my students today is, if we looked at your to-do list, if we look at all the things that you want to do, the wish list, all the projects and all the activities, it really boils down to 5% of those are directly responsible for 95% of the results you want. It's like the Pareto principle on steroids. And so when I started looking at the outcome or goal I had for a business and then the life that I was not getting, and did I have to sacrifice my life in order to get this thing I wanted as a business, I went on my own journey of there has to be a better way. And part of the better way is simplicity. And so the dashboard is realizing that it's going to give you just a few simple metrics that you get to focus on. Everyone's is going to be different. And that's the beauty of it. It's like business by your own design, but they will follow certain themes and principles, but you'll be left with a very specific strategy to get you where you want to go. It's all based on the outcome that you want to achieve. And then that becomes what you focus on. And I'm a big, when it comes to all that weird woo-woo stuff, I'm really big on that. So law of attraction, all that stuff. And for those that are, know about that, know that you get what you focus on and what you give your energy to. But if you diffuse that focus and you're trying to focus on 150 things, you probably get such a lesser amount than you could if you would like laser 100% in on just a few metrics. And so that's what this is really about, is zeroing in that focus.
Can I ask a question? Maybe you don't even know the answer to this. Maybe you do. Why is it that, and I'm going to say we, because I'm definitely guilty of this times, why do we often avoid doing the work that actually gets us the results?
I want to give that there's definitely a segment of people that it's because they don't know what that work is. Okay. There is definitely I didn't know that I'm supposed to do it that way. I didn't know that that's what's going to make the difference. And for those people, a lot of the unknown is it's a blind spot. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know you're supposed to do this. And I didn't know I didn't even know I'm supposed to know that I didn't know. And a lot of that comes from a lack of our own education in a business arena. The reality is the moment you are in business, you are a business owner. When you don't assume that identity, you have what's called the default identity. And the default identity for most of us is an employee identity. We approach our business the same way we would approach a job. And that's why we're burnt out, because you're looking at your value and your value proposition to your business the same way you would as if you had a job. Like if I just log more hours and work harder and stay busier and be a good employee, a good hard worker, then I'll have a successful business. that those rules work when you have a career or you have a job. They do not work when you're a business owner, which is why I say the role that you fill determines the results that you receive. So if you fill only the role of like the technician in your business, you're going to stay really busy and not produce that many results. It's like you'll have landing pages and pretty pictures, but you won't have money in the bank account. The other reason, of course, is once you do know, right? Once you graduate to, I know what I need to be doing. We hear this all the time. I know I need to be doing more of this. You'll hear it in your shoulds. We should all over ourselves. I should be putting my offer out there more. I should be posting more. And the most common one that we're all guilty of, I should be showing up more. Yes, you should, but let's not should all over ourselves. It's just a choice. I get to, right? And the answer to that for those, and when it isn't an unconscious incompetence, when it is not a blind spot, is it does come down to fear. The 5% activities are the few activities that will produce the outcomes that you want. Every single one of those 5% activities exists outside your comfort zone for you. And that I even though I don't know everybody on this call, it's not a generalization. It's wherever that next level of success is for you, that next level of result, it will require you taking a step of courage and faith outside of what is known, familiar, and normal for you to do something a little scary. So it's fear, and it's a lot of 3D ego fear. It's ego self-preservation. It's I'm going to look bad. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to do it wrong. They're going to hate me. They're going to reject me. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall on my face. All of that is how do I preserve this facade or ideal of the identity I've created, that I need to look good, that I need to behave a certain way. And the moment you choose to let that go, the amount of magic that unfolds in your life is unbelievable. And I tell people today, like, if it's a competition, I've failed way more than any of you guys. You know, I have so many failures and so many mistakes under my belt. And I lean into that today. And I believe that has a correlation to the level of success that I have today. It's just a numbers game. And if I put myself out there more often, yeah, I'm going to strike out. I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to do it wrong, but I don't take it too seriously. And I get up and I try again. And so ultimately, and the last thing I'll say there is that if these are the things that we know we need to be doing to get us to where we truly want to go within ourselves, like that's where I want to be, but they're outside our comfort zone, then every single one of those actions, we need to approach that as such a beautiful place of this is where I get to grow. This is where I get to awaken my gifts. This is where I get to stretch. This is where I get to discover more of what I'm capable of in my life. And I believe that's so much about what life is about. So entrepreneurship for me as a journey is not just about making money. It's my own personal growth journey. And I think anyone who's been in entrepreneurship for more than 6 months knows that to be true as well.
Oh, so true. And one thing that we've been talking a lot about in Boss Babe, especially over the last few weeks, is freedom. And not just this outer freedom, not just the financial location, schedule freedom, but all of that inner freedom that you're talking about of being free inside, of letting go of expectation, letting go of all of that fear that is holding you back. And I think that's the real success, right? Is having both. Having, you know, it's one thing having this business that's generating millions of dollars. And I just posted about this the other day, but if internally you feel like crap, are you really free? Is that real freedom? And so bridging the two together is so powerful. And that's what I love about your work is you do bridge the two together. You're not afraid to go there and talk about both. And it's that freedom-based business on a whole new level. So I love that. And I love that you shared that. What I want to dive into is your dashboard worksheet. So we Boss Babe it up a little bit. We made it extra pink. I'm going to share my screen.
Hey, you know, my brand colors are pink too. I got some pink in there.
We've seen the pink.
I'm loving it. I mean, it's a different shade. I get it, but I'm loving the pink. I love pink.
We've seen the pink. We love it. So we've taken yours and we've put it here where everyone can edit it. And what I love about the top, this is a real vision statement here. And I'll let you walk everyone through. But what I think will be so great, and listen, Boss Babes, we love to be unapologetically ambitious. Can you commit to being unapologetic about the kind of business that you want to run? We have a podcast coming out with James. And I think the way that I started the podcast was, you've got an 8-figure business with 8 employees. How are you doing it? And we dive into all of that. And it really, for me, was just such an up level of like, wait, I get to do this in my own way. And I think sometimes we like have this idea of, I want a 6-figure business, but what comes with that is oh, well, if I have a 6-figure business, I'm going to have no life. If I have a 6-figure business, I'm going to be managing a team. If I have a 6-figure business, I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z. And what I've really learned from you and what you put out there is it's really up to you. Design it the way you want it. And so can everyone here, whether you're joining us on Zoom, YouTube, Instagram, I see you, can you commit to filling this out as an unapologetically ambitious boss babe and doing it from whatever your real goal, like, the goal when someone asks you what you're working towards and you give them like the goal that feels like appropriate for the room you're in. Can you just put this as the actual goal that deep down you really want? Like for me, I'm just going to be like totally honest. When people often ask me like, you're going to write a book? I'm like, yeah, I would love to get a book out there. And I don't really tell them my real goal, which is like, I really want a New York Times bestseller. And I've started to just say it because I'm like, what am I afraid of? Not getting it and like letting down people that I didn't know. I'm just saying it. So please commit to saying it. So with that, James, will you kick us off and talk a little bit about how we should even think about filling this in? Because everyone's got a copy and everyone's like ready to dive in.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say a couple of things. I've been using this for years. It's extremely powerful. It's also extremely confronting. So be willing to be open as well. And notice you're going to get in your head with this. Notice you're going to that's part of what Natalie and I were talking about earlier, is that this kind of forces you to put yourself out there in particular ways. And that will be confronting for some of us. And we'll want to use our default ways of like self-protection, which is like get confused, overthinking, overwhelmed. And just notice that and understand that I wouldn't be sharing this if this wasn't absolutely necessary. We would have developed something else that's absolutely necessary. And this truly is. So everything is, as Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind. And that's something I think that has really served me well in my life, is that I operate from a place that anything is possible 100% of the time. Anything is possible. So whatever future you desire and create, there is a possibility. This is quantum physics. This is law. It exists as a possibility. And so we don't need to talk about, is it possible? Is it realistic? I say F realistic. So we always start with the outcome, and we're going to build the model, if you will, of your business from the outcome, not from the bottom of Mount Everest, but from you already at the top of it. And it starts with a little story. Some of you maybe heard of this. This was Tom Watson was the CEO of IBM in its heyday. Now, for a lot of us, that was kind of like before our time, right? For me, I was like a little kiddo, but he took IBM from like a couple of millions to like $1 billion company. Like in the 80s, they were big. And of course, when he retired, one of those like reporters asked one of those like superficial questions, like, Tom, what's the secret to your success? As if there is one, but he actually gave one. And when he shared the 3-step secret to success, it completely changed my life and my business. And it's very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. And he said, well, I realized that in order to get IBM to where we got it to, I had to realize 3 things. Number one, I had to identify what the done business was. Like, what is the goal that we're taking the business to? Stephen Covey began with the end in mind. And that's where we're going to start. And if you have an answer already, you can start to write it down. But I'm going to prompt you a few ways, because this is the place where people get the most in their head. He said, I needed to start with the done business. So is that done business $1 million a year business? Is it $100,000 a year business? Is it a $10 million a year business? What I would like you to start thinking about, and when you feel like an answer is coming to you, you can write it down at the top where it says my dollar or pounds, euro, whatever currency that is relevant for you, Bitcoin, who knows? And you're going to put that number down as the next iteration. I did not say, what is your 2023 goal? I did not say, what is your 2024 goal? I did not say, what's last year's goal. I just said, what's that next iteration or milestone of the business that we're building? And it is on an annual basis of total revenue. We're not talking profit. We're talking total sales revenue generated in one business. And if you have a number, you can start to write it down. I'll prompt you again in a moment. But he said, step number 1, I had to figure out what that done business was. What's that goal? And then he said, step number 2, I had to realize or ask myself, how does that business start to operate? If you wrote down $1 million business, he says, I had to start thinking, what would $1 million business do? How does $1 million business make decisions? What kind of staff do they have? What kind of metrics do they look at? How do they operate? And then he said, and this was the part that really hit me, he said, and then step 3, I realized if we were ever to get there, if we were to get to that done vision and make that a reality, that the only way that that would ever be possible is if we started to act that way now from the beginning. And that has been a huge, my own version of my own secret success is once we have a clear vision of the future, 1 or 2 things will become a driving force in your life. And it's either your past or your future. Unfortunately, when it's your past, we put our past in our future, and our past pulls us into more. And that's why we stay stuck and repeat our past. But when you create an invented future of the vision of the business that you desire, then you will notice little by little, when your habits change, when your actions change, when your decisions change, the way you look at things change, that you will move yourself closer towards that future vision. And so what is driving your life? Is it the past or the new future that you're calling in? So he said, I knew that the only way we could ever get there is if we begin acting that way now. And that's a choice moment by moment. So I'll ask you one more time, what is the next iteration or milestone of success of the business you're building? Entrepreneurs say this all the time. I'm building my business. What are you doing? Just building my business. What are you doing? Building my business. But what are you building? Because if I went to a contractor or an architect, they don't just build, they have a blueprint. They have a finished picture and they'll know when it's done. And some of us just get so addicted to building and staying busy that we don't even know when we've gotten there. And so I want you to write that number down, knowing that you can change that at any time. It's not here to limit you. So that's the most important piece, because everything from here down are going to be answers to questions or prompts to that outcome of a business. Okay. So does that make sense? That's very simple, but this, I know a lot of people get in our head about this. Wait, what's the deadline that he said? What's the goal? What, by when? Time is an illusion. Okay. Einstein said that. So time is a very tricky thing. And I don't, for now, want us to put time into the equation, because sometimes it takes a little longer and sometimes it happens a little faster. But when we're committed to the outcome, time really becomes irrelevant because we're committed to that outcome. Natalie, does that make sense? Do you need me to add more there, or are we ready to continue?
That makes total sense. We're ready to go. And everyone in the chat is like, yep, I'm on it.
Okay. Good. Step 2 of the 3. He said, identify the goal, identify the outcome, identify how that business would act and operate. That's what this dashboard is. It's step 2. Step 3. So step 2 is what decisions, what actions, how does that business behave and operate? How does it focus on? How does it decide what it's doing, what it's not doing? And then step 3 becomes act that way now. So you just did step 1. This dashboard is the step 2, and step 3, my friends, is up to you. Is a choice. Life is choice. Are we going to act and operate this way now, starting today, or are we going to go back to our old behaviors and old habits? And you get what you get, and a lot of people, want different results but are unwilling to make a change, and then are kind of surprised when nothing changes, right? So we're gonna now, if you could scroll down, we're gonna skip around. I do this intentionally. Actually, just to the 3 core functions. So it was like scrolling like an inch. There we go. I'm gonna make business simple again for you. Business is simple. I understand that it feels complicated and overwhelming, and I totally appreciate that. But I want to make it simple again for you. And business can be boiled down first into 2 things: attract your audience and sell them what they want. That's it. Attract your audience and sell them what they want. I'm going to expand that into 3 core functions that still follows under that simple premise: attract your audience, sell them what they want. And those 3 core functions comes down to what I call your business needs a little TLC: traffic, leads, customers. Those are the 3 core functions. So when you see that little section that says the 3 core functions, those are the 3 core functions: traffic, leads, customers. Now, with TLC, you'll always remember TLC. My business always needs TLC if it's going to get to that outcome that I want. Not only does it need TLC, but it needs it in that order. Traffic is exposure, eyeballs, audience, seeing your stuff, right? So we need traffic. And then from traffic, our audience, we're moving people. And that's a really important thing, is is if you come to have a similar business like mine, where you're a personal brand, an online expert, or a coach, then you are a leader and you're a market leader. So everything that we're doing is leading people. And sales itself, getting someone to pay you, to invest and work with you, is a process. It's a journey that someone goes on. So one function moves into the next one. This should be very simple. I would hope most people know this, but here's what happens is that usually we're weak in one of these areas, or we've kind of just, forgotten about one of them. And it goes back to Natalie's original question, which is like, why do we avoid or procrastinate on some of the things that we know we need to be doing? So we need to have a strategy for our traffic or our audience exposure. We need a strategy for taking that audience to become a lead. The most simplest way I could tell you what a lead is that's someone who has shown interest in you and your stuff. That's it. So someone could be following you on Instagram right now because you have pretty reels and pictures, and they thought that last one was really funny because it went viral, but that doesn't mean they want to buy your stuff. So there's another layer in which would they get closer to you. And then that third phase is customers. So these are the three phases. These are the three functions. And in each one of these columns, there's going to be two things. There's a strategy for each. And then there's the metrics that measures how well that strategy is performing. I'll say that again. There are three functions: traffic, leads, customers. And in each one of these functions, there are two things. There's the one strategy to implement these functions. And then there's the metrics that we use to measure how well that strategy is working. I want us to get business to be simple again, which means all we focus on is TLC, but all we really need to focus on, yes, you can add on as you grow, but if you had one traffic strategy, one lead getting strategy, and one sales strategy, you can take your business farther than you think. And I tell my students over and over again, and I have evidence after evidence after evidence. I built a 7-figure business selling a $97 product, that you can take one product to $1 million. I can guarantee anybody here, and we're going to talk about the sales system piece, if you make that offer to more people over the next 12 months, that one offer to more people over the next 12 months than you did in the last 12 months, I can guarantee you, and it's hard to make a guarantee, but I can guarantee you, you're going to make more sales in the next 12 months than you did in the last 12 months, because it's just a numbers game. So when we focus and we keep it simple on just a few things, we're far more likely to do it, and we're far more likely to do it better. We have a quote in my company that says, do less, do it better. And we live by that. So these four functions: traffic, leads, conversions. Now, I'm going to give you a moment, but it unfortunately opens up a huge conversation. I want to get through the whole thing. Is our job is to identify one strategy for each of these functions. So in the first left column, our traffic strategy, this is where we should have what I call a primary platform. That may be Instagram for you. We've seen tremendous success on Instagram ourselves, and we can look at that as a platform. What I mean by a platform is it's where do we come together where you get to share your content and people get to receive it and talk about it. I also have a podcast. The podcast has been a huge platform. So I would actually, in my business, say my primary platform is my podcast, the Mind Your Business podcast. Okay. That is where people come to me and they're attracted to my content. Content is like a magnet, and it will attract your audience. The quality and type of content determines the quality and type of audience you attract. From there, we have a strategy to get them from the podcast to into our world, opting in, subscribing, freebies, stuff like that. Lead magnets, you get the idea. And then finally, we have one sales system, one way that we sell our offers. And a lot of people are jumping around. What's the latest and greatest way to sell my stuff? And they're hopping around from all these tactics. And it opens up a bigger conversation. We are going to get to it. But even if you don't know the answers yet, it does not matter. You don't need it yet, but it is your homework that in these three sections, you're going to identify where is the platform that I'm going to put my best content most consistent. We have a lot of students that are doing extremely successful. They just do YouTube. Right. And so if James looks at his business as my primary platform is my podcast, then my tool or the way I use Instagram as a tool is predominantly to promote that the platform, the podcast. So a lot of other social tools get to become tools that focus and funnel into that primary platform. But what I know to be true is that the online experts and the coaches that are doing the best, and it is a small fraction of them, are the ones that have a primary platform where people go to. I've also seen people do it with the Facebook group. They've built huge communities on there. It's really hard to build 5 bridges at the same time or chase 5 rabbits at the same time. So when you go all in on one, you make it something extra special. From that platform, we have a strategy. How do I get people to take that next step? Join my email list. List building is not dead. It would be really sad if you believe that you want to grow your business, you grow your email list. And we know that to be true. And we're constantly doing that. And I really encourage you to do that too. And then that last piece is there is a strategy that every time I deploy it, it brings in customers. It turns a lead into a customer. And we're going to go into that into more detail. And the most important thing I can say here, and this will be a lot of the advice I share is really boring and unsexy, but it gives you the sexy results. When you figure out what that sales system is, it should be the thing that you do that you can repeat, rinse, and do again and again and again and again, the same thing. When you get out of that building phase and go into a running phase, I just rerun that launch. I just rerun that webinar. I just rerun that promotion, that email campaign, that funnel. That's where you're going to find the freedom. Where you are losing the freedom is when you spend 80% of your day creating. I give you, not that you need it, but I give you, and I know Natalie will give you permission to reuse and repurpose that which you've already created. Run it again. Okay. So what we will do with these, and we're going to come back if we need to, is as you break this all down and actually use this, there are metrics at play. So the metrics, this is what I call metrics that matter. You can also write this down. Tiny hinges swing big doors. So you will have a big number at the top of your page. And some of us who use like vision boards and stuff are now going to just put like, what, $1 million on a cork board above your desk. And you're sitting there going, how the F is that going to happen? So I have big goals and I've hit those big goals. And one of the secrets is I don't focus on the big goal. I focus on these ones. And when you can like take the metric from, people call you like pie in the sky, right? Okay, great. Take the metric from out of the sky and put it down on ground level. And all of a sudden, these metrics that we start to focus on, like I'm trying to build my Instagram by 10 followers a day. Boom, that goes in your first or column if Instagram was your platform. And I'm trying to get at least one of those people to opt in a day from those 10. Boom, that goes in your second column. And then if I could, sell a product or two a day as well, or whatever, we're coming up with the metrics that will end up getting us to our goal. So I'll show you how to like plug those in, but there's also a lot of freedom in how you do that. Now, the R down at the bottom is one that really ruffles some feathers here, because I go, what do you think the R stands for? And what the R stands for is responsible. And when Natalie said, how do you run an 8-figure company where you actually like have a life and don't work all the time and you only have 8 employees? And the answer is, one of the answers is I have extraordinary people that work with me that I've attracted that take on these responsibilities. And so what I always ask people is, if it's just starting out, you are responsible for all of these. And now you're starting to see why you're working so much, because there's a lot on your plate, because there's a lot that you're responsible for. But through the acknowledgement that I own this metric, I am responsible for this, there's power and acceptance in that. And as you grow, a lot of people just grow by saying like, I'm just going to like give to-do lists and part of my to-do list to other team members and that I hire and like just do the to-do list. I don't give to-do lists to my team. I give them responsibility. And from the responsibility that they own, they begin to create their own to-do list. And I don't need to manage them. They know what they own in our company. And those are the metrics that move the needle to that top line revenue goal that we're moving towards. So I don't want to overwhelm. Hopefully that's enough to get us started. We're going to bounce around a little bit, and I want to go to the next section, if that's okay with you, Natalie. Okay.
Yep.
So
this one here.
So yes, and you can share both of those you want. They're the big thing here, as I said before, is if we're going to keep it simple, we want to see how far can you take one offer to one sales system. So like I said before, we're going to go deeper with the sales system. So we teach a 90-day framework. And if you run that sales system, it could be live, it could be automated at least once every 90 days to that one offer, you're going to be on track to your goals. And there is, yes, on the second page, there is a section for that as well. So this, again, we could do a whole day workshop and I could expand on this. So what I'm here to do is really help explain these sections. And you might sit there and say, I really need to work on this piece of it. But the point is now you'll know. It's going back to what we said before, when you don't know what you don't know, how are you supposed to do something about it? So it is your offer that is going to get you to that number. Let's not beat around the bush or fool ourselves. If you put down a financial sales and revenue goal, it is number one, your offer. Your offer is the quid pro quo for your stuff for money. And your offer is going to be that link or access point to the sales and revenue you want. That's what we're doing. We're making an offer. It's a product, whatever that is for you. And to the degree in which that offer is irresistible is the degree in which people are going to say yes to it. There is an art and a science to creating irresistible offers. Most people do a really bad job of creating great offers. Most people are saying, what do I want to teach? What do I want to do? What do I want to deliver? What do I want to talk about? And I don't mean any disrespect, but no one cares what you want to talk about. No one cares what you want to teach about. What they care about is their problems. What they care about is the thing that's keeping them up at night. And something I say over and over again is the people that want to start a business are the ones that end up failing. But the people that want to help people are the ones that end up doing just that. And so a great offer is one that is focused first on that ideal customer and solving their problems the way that they want them solved. It is a service, an act of service to say, what does this person need and require from me? I created this out of service. I didn't want to create a dashboard, but I said, this is what my people need because they're being told to chase 10 rabbits at the same time and focus on 1,000 things. We need to make this simple again for them. So that's how you create an offer. There are 7 ingredients, but there's 3 foundational pillars that I'm sharing here. And it's the 3 Ps: the promise, the process, and the price. The promise is, what do I get? What am I learning? What am I receiving in exchange for what's on the right price? And the process is the how it is delivered. You know, we do live events. I do masterminds and retreats with like small, intimate groups of people. That is a different process than, say, selling a $47, $37 membership. So those are different processes. So the process is the mechanism of delivery or the format. The promise is that 1 or 2 sentences of what this is. And then the price is obviously how much. Now, they're very clear. It's very clear what each one is. That you have no misunderstanding or confusion about each one. It's going to be really hard for you to make a great offer if you don't know what the promise is, you don't know what the process is, and if you don't know the price. So we need to know these. It's a whole nother world to answer these correctly. And if there's time, we can get into that. But the most important thing is I want to explain each of these. And I cannot stress again, I worked with one client. This is a great story. She came to me. She actually visited me in California. I used to live in my hometown of Laguna Beach, and I'm out in Sedona, Arizona. I was 3 minutes and 20 seconds from my door to the sand. It was my dream. I'd surf twice a day. And she said, can I come visit? And she was from New York. And, you know, I lived in New York too. It's like in the city, it's like go, intense, frenetic energy over there, as some of you guys know. And she came and stayed. And I had a little studio apartment. And after about 5 days, she kind of like broke down and was like, okay, can you just like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I've watched you all day, all week, and you like barely work. You go to the beach twice a day. And I know how much money you're making. What the heck are you doing? And she goes, can I like hire you? And I only said yes because we had a relationship, a friendship. So I was like, okay, because I wasn't taking on any one-on-one. And I did this really cool exercise with her. And I'll show you exactly what we did. I said, how much money did you make last year? And she wrote that number down. It was about 200,000. That's amazing. It's 200,000. And then I drew a big circle under that. And I said, I want to know where all that money came from. And we started building like a pie chart, right? And it was like, well, this offer it made this much. Okay, that's about 20%. And then this, and long story short, at the end of this exercise, she had like a pizza with like 36 slices on it. I'm not exaggerating. 36 different revenue generating projects, products, and services to generate that 200,000. And I asked her, why did you want to hire me? And she said, because I haven't taken a day off in 2 years and I'm working 10 to 12 hours a day. And I pointed to that pie chart and I said, do you know why? And it was pretty obvious. Now, here's what happened. There was one of those items on the pie chart. And one of those items had generated about 35% of the total revenue. And it was one product. And I said, here's what I want you to do. Go all in on just that and say no to everything else. She had her business at $1 million+ in 9 months. She replaced her previous year's revenue by January. By end of January, because we started in December, she had made 200K. She took that to $1 million in 9 months. At the beginning of this, I said, anything is possible. Anything is possible for you. Some of you misconstrued that as that means I need to do everything. Everything is not the same as anything. And the goal with a business by design is elegance and simplicity. Less is more. And I'm here to tell you, if it's the right offer, you can take the right offer to 7 figures and have a much, much more simple, fulfilling business than trying to be the person that says, because I can do everything, I must do everything, and creates 15 offers. I also love to say, if you want to make more money, create less offers that you sell more often. But if you want to make yourself more busy, just create more products. And that's what most people do. I did that. I'm guilty of that. I don't want that to happen to you. So simple, simple, simple. Okay. Then continuing with that, the theme of simplicity, I want to talk about the sales system. One of my favorite movies is the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. I love that movie. And so I always think of your sales system like a Willy Wonka machine. Something goes in and all this mysterious stuff happens inside. And then what comes out is the everlasting gobstopper. Your sales system is the same way. People go in and what comes out, all this mysterious stuff happens in the middle. And what comes out is a happy customer. That's your sales system. And the more people we put in it, the more customers we get out, right? And then we can tinker with it and improve it. But I'm using that same machine. So this is really cool and really fun. The left column, and I'm going to give you a few to choose from. The left column is the type of sales machine or system, everlasting gobstopper Willy Wonka machine, that you're going to be using. People get very much in their head here. Which one's the right one? I'm going to tell you this right now. What will determine your success in you selling this offer the right way? About 10% of that comes down to which sales system you choose. It's about a 10% variable. Some do a little better than others. And I'm going to give you examples of some, but I'm going to tell you this right here. They all work. I have 7-figure clients that are using every single one that I will list out, and they're all very happy with it. So it actually comes down more to your personality and work style. That's why I call it business by design. So it's a far less of a factor to your success, but it's where people spend, even though it's 10% of like contributing to your success, it's like where people spend 90% of the time worrying about it. So whether that's a webinar, an automated funnel, a live launch, a video series, or a challenge, it doesn't have that big bearing of an effect. I'll tell you what does. What happens in the sales system is what matters. And what happens in that sales system is your messaging and your offer. If you have great messaging that presents an irresistible offer, it doesn't matter if you did it in a challenge, a webinar, a 3-part live series, or a paid workshop, it will work. That is the 90%. This is the factor that plays the biggest contributing role to sales and conversions in your business. And it is sadly the thing that is most often overlooked. And now people are just trying to outsource it to ChatGPT. But your messaging and your offer and the way you communicate that offer is everything. If I'm confusing and randomly talking about just nonsense, and then I put an offer in front of you that you don't want, you ain't gonna buy. And the same thing happens when you do that with your audience. So if I do that in a webinar or on a Zoom call or on an Instagram live, it matters teeny tiny bit. Okay. Once I have my sales system, so we could just write down as an example, just so we have a little bit of context. You know what, James? Tell me how to get started. What do you recommend? I'd say, you know what? A webinar is always a great place to start because you can do your entire messaging presentation in 60 minutes, rock and roll. Then now we get to play with some metrics. Now I have calculators inside my program that does this all for you, but you'll have to do a little bit of your own math here. This is really cool. You got to start identifying and measuring how many registrants do I need? Okay. How many registrants would I need? I'm going to give you guidelines. Again, this gets a little mathy, but you just do this once and then you never have to worry about it again. And then EPL. EPL is my favorite metric to talk about. It's my favorite thing to teach. But registrants is how many people do I need to put into my machine that will produce the number of customers I want. Here's how you can already start to figure it out. Okay. If you took, this is going to get a little mathy. If you took that number you wrote down at the top and you divide that by the price of your program, you will now know how many sales or customers you need. If you multiplied that by 20, now it's a lot in a whole year, so it overwhelms people, but I'm going to show you how you break it down into smaller chunks. If you multiplied that by 20, then that's going to give you a rough guideline of how many registrants that you would need in a total year to the one sales system. And I have people running webinars 4 to 5 times a week. They do the same webinar every day. They run paid traffic. They show up and they built a multiple 7-figure business doing that. All they did is they showed up on the webinar, made the same presentation. They did it like half asleep, while they're like painting their nails, and then went back to their life. And then they said, hey, we're going to finally just automate this and make it totally automated. And so this is not on a one-time webinar. This is not on a one-time. This is over the whole course of the year. And I'll show you how we break it down into 90-day segments. Even if this is overwhelming, understand and trust this is what your business needs. And you only have to do this once, and then you have the clarity. So why did I say multiply it by 20? Because there's a safe metric or guideline that about 5% of registrants you can expect. And that's, I'm giving a very generalistic because I'm talking to a lot of people right now and we break down the guidelines more in my training, but that's a safe one to work with. Now, here's where this gets really exciting. And this is what I was getting to. When you have big goals and big visions and you start to chunk it down into something bite-sized and obtainable, you notice that you're far more likely to actually go after it. So when you do this right, you realize like, wow, if I just did this on repeat and recycle, that means like, even just my first webinar, if I just got 100 people, and that was my first webinar, my goal was 100. I ended up with 101. You get what you focus on. You get what you give your energy to. And if you just said, wow, I can just ignore that big goal for now and just say, I just need to get 100 people. How do I get 100 people registered? And then all of a sudden, wow, that platform that he had me map out, I can use my platform or my podcast to talk about this webinar. And then I can create a lead magnet that pushes people into that webinar. And then I can just start inviting people into that webinar because I've already used that lead magnet. So I have an email list already and I can start inviting them. And it's like, this is starting to get really simple. Sadly, people exchange simplicity for novelty. And they'll say, oh, I've already heard this before. I want to hear something new and different. Why? Why don't you want to do the thing that works, that's simple? See, I like my business to be simple. I run it off of principles, not off of trends. And the trends or the new things are the veneer or the surface level or the above the iceberg that you get to build on top of a foundation of principles that work. And what I come to share are the principles at play that are universal for anyone that you're seeing. So when I know what those numbers are, it actually realigns my actions and behaviors to get those numbers. How do I get those first 100 people? And then I'm just going to share this metric. This is my favorite metric. It's so good. I love it. And I understand there's some people that still have stories because of whatever happened in math class growing up, that I'm not a math or numbers person, but I hate to break it to you. There is a level and a way of looking at business where it is numbers because you can't grow what you can't measure. And my favorite metric is called EPL. It stands for earnings per lead. And it is my favorite metric. A lot of people are just looking at sales and revenue. How much money did you make this week and this month? What I look at is EPL, and EPL measures the performance of your sales system. It measures the performance of your sales system by taking the total sales you made divided by the total registrants. So if I did a webinar and I made $2,000 and I had 100 people in there, I would do 2,000 divided by 100, whatever that comes out to. So $20, something like that. And that would be my EPL. And if I had a $20 EPL, that is what a lead or registrant is worth to me. And that will be such a huge metric moving forward. So now here's where this gets really exciting. How do we grow? Most people think of growth very linearly, and they just say more people. I just got to get more people. But if I had a bucket and I wanted to fill that with water, but I had a bunch of holes in it, and I came to you and I said, how do I fill this bucket? Would you still tell me to fill it with water, or would you tell me to fill the holes first? See, everything that we're doing, it either works or it doesn't, but it's on a gradient scale. How well does it work? And could it work better? So most people just say, I just need to get more people in. I just need more people. And there is truth to that. But growth is multifaceted and dynamic, and there's multiple ways to increase your growth. And increasing your EPL is one of those ways. In other words, if I took my EPL from $20 to $40, then that means I'm increasing that conversion rate, and I'm increasing the performance of the sales system without needing to get a single additional person in. But when you do both, that's when you experience quantum growth. People want to have those quantum leaps in revenue. Well, when you're experiencing growth multidimensionally, the number of people I get in and the performance of something, you have a quantum leap. You have exponential results. That's where people see the hockey stick. So we track that, and we want to measure that as well. Okay. Now I want to stop here because for now and check in, because I said a lot. I'm intense. This is not, I don't do kindergarten. So it is okay if you felt like a little intimidated or overwhelmed. I tend to be like that, but then I clarify and simplify. But this is challenging. I warned you guys it'd be a little confronting, a little confusing, but my intention is very simple, that at any point, whether it takes you more time or you actually nailed it already, is that your entire business strategy is on a single piece of paper. I have the offer and the strategy and the traffic source, the TLC, to get to where I want to go. And if you were able to follow along with me, chances are, if you're not where you want to be or not on track to where you want to be, you were able to recognize that there's an area in this diagnostic where we've been avoiding or letting it slip. And that's okay. That's why it's here. Oh, I need to do more here. I haven't been doing that. And then this becomes as simple. I do have a bonus page, but this becomes as simple as you get to make your business. Again, I built a 7-figure business. It was 1.2 million a year, selling a $97 product. And it was webinars to my program. And that's how I was able to do that, because I simplified. And I was able to simplify because I kept it in this framework, and I said no to everything else. You don't have to do everything just because you can do everything. Less is more. Do less, do it better. Natalie, was this helpful? Is this starting to make sense?
Yes, this was really helpful. And just looking at the chat, I'm seeing so many breakthroughs. I think this is probably the most valuable society call we've had thus far because of how detailed it is. where I see people getting caught up is I'm seeing people say, well, how exactly does this apply to mine? Or what's this math? And one thing I want to share just from hearing where people were stuck is if you haven't figured out exactly what you want your business to earn, and you haven't figured out, what your offer is going to be, you haven't figured out those details, it can be very challenging to jump into the math and to jump into, okay, what's my earnings per lead? And so I just want to share, if you are in a place where you're like, oh, I didn't catch that math, this is all overwhelming me, it might be because the foundational things aren't at play yet.
Yeah.
And it's really important that you get those things done first. And then as you get more and more into the process, you get more and more detailed, because this call recording is always going to be here. But if you don't really know, what kind of business you're building, what your offer is, how you're going to sell it, what kind of conversion you're even, like how people are even buying, then you'll really struggle to get into the calculations. Do you feel the same, James? Like they need to start high level.
I do. And it's up to you. Like if you want to, we can like do a mock example, or we can go on to the second, cause there's like some bonus stuff. Or we can do both. It's really up to you.
Let's do a mock actually.
Okay,
let's do a mock.
great.
Let's do like a pretendy business.
Let's do a pretendy. And then by the way, the last piece I like to fill out is this white space underneath. And that is my favorite piece. So as long as we have time, we'll fill that out. So let's go to the top.
Okay.
Give me a number, but I don't have like we both have our phone on. Do we have like a spare calculator? I guess I have one on my computer.
I have one on my computer. Yeah.
Okay. So we're both going to use each other's math. And here's the beautiful thing. I don't think I'm a numbers person either. I got to use a calculator for all of this. Okay. So what's a number that we want to do here?
Let's do 100,000.
100,000. Okay. So are you able to write that in there as well?
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy. So this is what you're going to do. If you have this worksheet, you're going to make a copy, and then it means it's always slow when I'm sharing my screen. It means that you can add all of your workings in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's being nice and slow. So for now, I'm going to do it in here. Oh no. Just as I said that, it worked. Okay.
Awesome.
I see you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to put 100,000 in here. That means I want to make 100,000 a year in my business.
Yeah. And then, we can spend time on the three functions, but like, maybe you just tell me like, where would, if you were starting a new business today, where would you put your primary platform? Would it be Instagram? Would it be a podcast? Would it be a YouTube channel? Would it be something entirely different? Okay. Podcast. Beautiful.
Podcast. Let's go podcast.
You got a podcast. And right now in this, we're not even talking about niche or anything. We could get into that, and it's a wonderful conversation, but these are universal things here. How are we going to get listeners from your podcast onto your email list?
I'm going to make PDF that they're going to opt in for.
Great. So you can even just say, if you know what that is specifically, it's like a getting started guide. It's a buyer's guide for something, whatever, you can fill that out as you go. But at the end of every episode, maybe even at the beginning, there's an advertisement for it. Instead of having sponsors on there, you're sponsoring your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a very simple, pretty link for them. And a portion of your listeners will take that next step and they'll opt in. Okay. Now, if you don't know this, we just go down. Let's go down to the next two, and then we actually come and fill this in. So that's why it's kind of like, so let's say you want to do 100,000, but right now only one offer. Maybe you do have some one-on-one coaching and consulting, but this is in like a scalable digital product. What are we selling?
I'm going to sell $1,000 digital course.
Great. So you have the process and the price. So in the process, you can say digital course, and a price we'll do what the marketers do, $997, right?
Okay. Let's do a 99. Sounds way better.
Okay. So if again, it isn't a niche conversation, but just to humor us and give us more context, what are we selling in this product?
How to grow on Instagram.
Okay, great. So this is an Instagram growth course. I love it. And again, because it's not a niche or marketing, it's not like we don't need to get into like the copy or anything. It's just like, that's what this is. That's what it is. And you should have that. Okay. It's my offer. So now let's take our calculators out.
Can you see mine if I share the screen? Can you see the calculator or no?
I cannot actually.
Okay.
I can't, but that's okay. I have mine out as well. 100,000 divided by 997. And what you're going to get is 100, right? I knew
Okay.
that already, but so what does that mean? You could put that,
Where do you want me to put it?
yeah, let's see. There's another space we're going to put it later on page 2. So you can leave it off for now. 100 units is how many sales we need to make if we want to hit that goal. Is everybody clear on that? That was a very simple math. It's $1,000 product. We want 100,000. So we got to sell 100 units. Okay. So I'm going to show you where that comes in just a moment, but let's go down to the My Sales System. I want you to start out and you're going to do a webinar for this. Okay. We're just going to keep it simple. All right. We get into more nuanced strategies inside Business by Design, but right now it's a 60-minute webinar. You're going to go through our process. It's going to walk you. It's like a fill in the blank, paint by numbers, like webinar template. Okay. So now what I want you to do is do 100 times 20. And that is 2,000.
Okay.
And that number is going to go registrants needed. Okay.
Yep.
So this is if you can sell, which is a very fair conversion rate, 5% of your registrants, then in the course of a year, you do a webinar enough times that because some people go, I can't get to 2,000. I said, if you did it enough, in 1 year, you could.
Oh yeah.
Right. So this is how close you are to it, but we're just not doing it. We do it once and we go, I hated it. It failed. And you go and like bury yourself in your cave for 3 months, but you could have just gone out and done it again. Consistency. I know it's not sexy, but it is what's going to give you the results you want. So that's 5% of registrants. So 5 goes into 120 times. So I just did 100 units times 20. I got 2,000. So that's that number. Okay. So what's happening here is throughout the year, you're actually marking how many registrants you got. Oh, I did my first webinar. I got 50. I got another 100. Now I'm at 250 and it's adding up. Now we can't actually, I'll have you type out the equation for this, Natalie, but you can't actually do EPL until you have done a webinar. It is a performance metric that is measuring past performance. Okay. But I'm going to give the formula. Now it's in the words. EPL is sales or earnings divided by leads or registrants. Okay. And that number is, you want to track that every time you do your webinar or your sales system. And the goal is to get that to increase. Okay. That's my favorite metric. And there's a whole world to unpack with that, but we're going to stick with that. Okay. So that's how quickly we did this so far. Okay. So then people go, okay, I kind of get this. You're saying that if I sell a $97 product and I can get 2,000 people registered. Yes. If you do it the right way and follow the process, you have a plan for getting you to $100,000 business. Yes, you absolutely do. Now, if we're going to go back a little bit now, watch this. So you saw that number is 2,000 registrants, right? So now when we go up to the 3 core functions, I understand it's a bit of guidelines and like gray area, but now what you'll need to do is come up with goals to hit the first 2 functions. So the top metric where it says over on the right, blank of blank, that is where you keep track. How many of the 100 units do I put? So you can go to 3 and you can say like 0 over all the way in the 3rd column. You can put 0 of 100, right? Because that's where we're at right now today, because you just started. So it's 0 of 100. And now we go, okay, that's where I need to get my 100. And then we could sit there and we could actually come up with a number of how many leads we'd want in order to get the 2,000 registrants. And then we could come up with how many downloads do we need to get in order to get those leads that we came up with. Now, again, there are like metrics and guidelines based on each platform. And there's an art to it more than a science. But if you're not coming up with a goal of like, if you only want to get 100 downloads in a month, but you want to get 1,000 registrants, like the math ain't adding up here. So what we're doing is we're working back to create a goal. So if I know I need to get 2,000 registrants in the course of a year, what would be a fair estimate of how many listeners that I need to have in a year? There's no wrong answer here, but Natalie, if you had to guess, like how many downloads would I need in a podcast in 12 months that would pretty much guarantee that I get 2,000 people registered?
20,000.
Yeah, that sounds like a fair number. Like and again, it's not about a right or wrong. It's like that's now a target I shoot for. And obviously doesn't mean I'm going to limit myself to 20,000, but if you go into column 1 and write of 2,000, and then we're tracking this, it's 20,000, excuse me. Yes. Then that becomes your goal. Now, remember when I said tiny hinges swing big doors? When the strategy is in place, we're not focusing on this big number. We're saying, what am I doing this week to get more downloads? What am I doing this week to get more leads? And how do I get those leads to become registrants? So this is where it all comes together. I'm going to have you scroll down to page 2. And this is where it gets really fun right there. The last thing you do is when you put this into play, you create a quarterly plan for your business every 90 days. So we could put on the far right column, you'll notice that everything I do backwards because we want to begin with the end in mind, is we could take 100,000 divided by 4. And our goal is just to make 25,000 in a quarter. If you said you want 100K a year, our goal, and life doesn't happen that way, right? It goes up. So if the goal starts at 25 a quarter, you do a little less that first quarter. That doesn't mean you're not going to make up for it by the end of the year. Okay. So you have to trust that process. But if you could put in that far right column now of quarter 1, where it says equals, 25,000. All we've done is we've breaking our goal up into 4. Divided by 4 gives us 25. And then for sales system, you're just identifying the sales system that you're going to do, which is that webinar, and then the offer that you're selling, which is the 997 Instagram course, right? So then you go, okay, hold on. If I needed 2,000 registrants to get to the total number, then how many registrants would I need in quarter 1? Well, the safe estimate would be 500. It's 2,000 divided by 4. So let's say today is January 1st. If you did this properly and you did it on January 1st, are you saying, James, that all I need to do is focus my podcast, my social media, my list building on getting 500 people into a webinar to sell the 997 program? And what I say is, imagine what would happen if that's all you did and that's all you focused on, and that became your plan.
Yes. Yes.
Simple.
I just want to highlight that exclamation, bold, put it up to 25 font size. That is the number. That knowing that number will change absolutely everything, because I know you probably came onto this call trying to do so many different things and not really, when we talk about not knowing the needle mover, not knowing like this number, if you're able to identify this number, like James is saying, it 500 registrants, you'd probably stop doing 80% of what you're doing on a daily basis and do this one thing.
Yes. And then guess what? We did. So we finished our quarter 1. One of 2 things is going to happen. I can guarantee, as long as you did what you said you were going to do, you're either going to hit your goal or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you this, that if you didn't hit it, it's because of one reason. There was something you needed to learn there. Experience is your greatest teacher. So there's something there you needed to learn. And so we lovingly force all of our students to run a debrief of that webinar. So there's a process we take you through on how to interpret the numbers, what worked, et cetera, et cetera. But here's where this gets really exciting. With that debrief, it's going to give you clarity on the lessons you needed to learn, the things you needed to change. And then quarter 2, you do the same thing. It's the same webinar. It's the same process. It's the same tech. It's the same offer. It's the same checkout page. It's the same sales page. And now is where you get to the magic. Because now in quarter 1, if this was brand new, you've spent all this time building, all this time learning, all this time creating that you don't have to do again, because you built the Willy Wonka machine and now you get to run it. The metaphor I use here is that building this machine is like building a car. People spend years in the garage building the car, and they never take it out and drive it. If you can get past that first 90 days of building it and getting it out there, now we get to drive the car. And that's where things get fun. And so you have to look and really look back at how you've been showing up in your business. How much of it has been, I'm staying in the garage and I'm always building or rebuilding, or once I get momentum, I go back and I rebuild it. I've stopped using things that worked in the past and I'm building again because this is new and it's exciting and I'm going to go after the new thing. And I understand that, but you never take the car out of first gear. And if you know anything about cars, that's where the RPMs are the highest. That's where the engine's working the most, is in first gear, which means that's where you're working the most. When we can get you into fourth and fifth gear, you're actually working less and going faster and producing more because you're using momentum of what you've already created. And I didn't create this today for you guys. I've created this years ago and I reuse it and repurpose it. So I didn't have to go busy work this morning to go build this for you and everybody. I already had it. And so that's just like a very micro example of it, right? So build the machine so we can run it again and again and again.
I love this so much. And I'm seeing a couple of comments in the chat. What about this business? What about this business? We can't get into every single business type, but I'm going to give you a couple of examples just to prove it to you that you can apply this to any kind of business. Like, I just want to prove it. And then your homework is going to be going away to figure out what it looks like for your business. But we did this based on an Instagram course that you're going to sell through a webinar, right? If you have, for instance, a one-to-one coaching business, you might tell me, okay, Natalie, I sell my clients through booking sales calls. Okay. So then you need to book that. Let's say for every 2 sales calls you take, you close one person, and you need to close one person a month. You need to book 2 sales calls a month. All you do is work backwards. Okay, well, to get those 2 sales calls booked, what are you going to do? How are you going to bring that traffic in? Or I have another person that just said, service offerings rather than products. Same thing. I run in-person trainings. How does this work? Well, it's all about asking yourself, okay, how do I sell this in-person retreat? And I'm going to work backwards from that. Okay, well, I send an email to people that tell me they're interested. For 50% of people that receive the email, buy in. Okay, great. So how am I getting more emails of people telling me they're interested? It's all there for you if you work backwards. And this will apply to every single business out there, every single business. And what's really interesting is I can guarantee you every successful entrepreneur is doing this, but not everyone teaches it because it might not be the sexy thing. It might not be super sexy to give you an equation, but I can tell you this is the exact way I have run my business from the get-go, the exact way. And I did my first webinar and I didn't convert. I definitely didn't convert at these numbers, but I didn't decide, okay, well, that didn't work. Off I go to go get a job at the local post office. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just didn't do that. I was like, okay, well, let me go back to the drawing board and do it again. Okay, let me do it again. Let me do it again. And so you might have decided, I want 25,000 for my webinar in Q1, and you might have literally made 5,000. Okay, so then I'm going to up that for next time and up that for next time and up that for next time. This is not something that just happens overnight, but it is something that if you stay really consistent with it, these numbers, I mean, James, seeing your earning per leads now, I'm like, okay, I'm going to up my game even more because these are phenomenal. And the reason you've got them is because you just keep doing it over and over and over again. And every time making little tweaks, making more little tweaks.
What I want for everyone, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, I'm going to say this universally. It does not matter what business that you're in. What I want for everybody is that when you say, I want to grow the business, that you are in the driver's seat and you know exactly what levers do that. If I do more of this and more of that, then that happens. And that is the biggest piece of this. So if there are some businesses like an e-commerce brand, you sell physical product of sorts, so you're saying like, oh, is it working there? Universally, every business has its levers and has its metrics. So yes, sometimes you tweak and adjust things, but every single business needs to have a proactive dashboard. Selling, even though a lot of us don't love that word, and you have that resistance to it, but it's the only way that you're going to get paid. Because if you're just sitting there, like, if I put this amazing product on my website, I'm hoping people will just stumble upon it and just give me money. That doesn't happen. Selling is an act. And if every 90 days you broke down a revenue goal and what act am I going to make or take in order to achieve that, then you will see more consistent success and more confidence and certainty in how you're running your business, versus where most people feel, and I felt like this for a long time, like business was just happening to me. I'm like the bag in the wind. It's like, maybe there's an opportunity, maybe I'll make money, I don't know, versus causing consistent, predictable outcomes in your business. That's what the dashboard is there to do. Can I cause predictable outcomes on a consistent basis in my business? If not, it's going to feel like you're not running a business, it's running you, and it will run us straight into the ground. So hopefully that makes sense there. Someone did want to ask about the bonus stuff. I'm more than happy to go over that because I can do it in like 3 minutes. It's just up to you on time.
We totally can. Which part are they talking about?
Okay. So you're going to scroll up a little bit to right.
Oh, I see.
There. Okay. So this is bonus for a reason, because I don't want to overwhelm. But I'm going to let you in on a little cool secret, if you will. I teach a process that you don't really want to get into until your business is off the ground and it's making a decent amount of money. I would say at least like the 200,000 to 300,000.
Okay.
I have seen, and this happened to us, businesses 2 to 3x in 1 year by doing this one thing. And this is the back end offer. We call it the ascension model. So even though I said you can go to $1 million with one offer, and you can, and then it's so true, and that's what I did. I took my business from 2 to 10, and a huge aspect had to do with bringing in the back end offer. The back end offer is basically, once you have the front end offer, like some of you are talking about one-on-one clients, or some of you are talking about that first course or membership, there's going to be, as your business grows, a segment of your audience that wants more and bigger. And the back end offer is the offer that you sell to past customers. What do they get next? There's all these studies, you've probably heard them before. Buying a buyer from who's a pre-existing customer is 10 times cheaper and 10 times easier to acquire than a brand new cold prospect. When you decide to put the back end offer, a product for your happy paid customers, in place in your business, it's easier to sell. It's going to be priced higher, and you're going to get more higher performance and conversions from it. And we see it 2 to 3x people's businesses overnight, instantly. It's the product for your past completed customers. Some of you have a product right now and you're like, yeah, I've been running a course for 2 years, and I'm sitting there going, what do I do with all these customers? They're asking me what's next. I don't know. And that's where that comes in place. And that gets really, really fun. So I always encourage students, like, have that in the back of your mind as you're building your business, so that you're ready for it, because I guarantee there's going to come a point in time where people say, what's next? And that's waiting for you. Okay. Yeah. Yes. A retreat could be, I do high level masterminds, and that is my ascension model. And so, yes, a high ticket retreat experience, a one-on-one VIP day, 1000%, Brittany. That was a great question. And yes. Okay. And then if you scroll down, we did the 4 quarters. So I'm going to tell you this, planning is boring. I get it, but no one has come back to me, and I've taught this to thousands and thousands of students, and said, mapping out my 4 quarterly plan like this was the worst mistake I've ever made. It was, what a waste of time. It's, there's a whole different conversation about sticking to the plan that you create, but I run my company this way, and it's so simple and it's so streamlined. So we did that. And then the last piece is an exercise I take you guys through. I do this in my training, the Rise of the Digital CEO, but if you go down where it says I am now operating as the digital CEO, there's 2 things I'm doing here, but it comes down, and I'm just going to plant a seed for this, okay? Because it's a bigger exercise that needs more time. But there's what I call 3 phases of goal setting. The first phase is the phase that what we say normies are in, which is they don't have goals. You go up to a random person on the street walking down the sidewalk and you say, "Hey, what are your goals?" And they're like, "Oh," and they're like afraid of you. And they're like, "Leave me alone. My goals are just get away from you." And they're working for the weekend, or they're just working for the next thing, right? The next vacation. And that's okay. That's totally fine. Now you find yourself to be like weird and different than everybody, right? You've noticed that you're like part of a like smaller echelon of people where you're like, I have goals. I have like dreams and visions. And you realize like a lot of people don't. And that's really awesome. And that's a mark of an entrepreneur. That's a mark of a special person that has a vision. And that's where people stop. That's where most people stop. And I'm going to give you such a powerful hack. And it connects right back to Tom Watson's 3 secrets to success. Is the moment you have a goal, you've identified something you want. The people that accomplish their goals take it a step further, and they've identified what their goal wants from them, or rather what their goal needs from them. And every level of growth in your life, and I can promise you this, and if you look back, you'll see evidence of it, every single goal in your life will require a shift in identity, a shift in different actions and behaviors, and necessary requirements that you need to let go of. So these 2 columns, I take people through a very powerful process that will have you allow to naturally emerge through clarity. What are the new actions, behaviors, and identities that I need to assume? And what do I need to let go of now to make these numbers come in? Some of you, and that's okay, I work with a lot of people, are putting some of these goals down, and you're starting to notice that there's something that needs to go. Something I have to let go of. Let me give you an example. You don't get to 100 or multiple $100,000 business and still have a fear of failure. It's time to let that go. You don't get to build $1 million business and still get to hold on to imposter syndrome. You'll have to let that go, and you'll have to let it go first. You don't get to build 1 million followers on Instagram and still have a fear of opinions and judgments. You'll have to let that go, and you'll have to let that go first. And I can promise you this, from the growth that I've had and the struggles I've gone through, the secret to your own evolution, the secret to getting everything you want and more, is a process of letting go. And to the degree in which you let go is the degree in which you let in. What do you want to let into your life? What are you ready to let into your life? It's time to make room for it. And it means something's got to go. And you can let that go. You're the one that picked it up and held on to it. So you get to be the person that lets it go. And that's the final process that we really work people through. And that's what I call the digital CEO. The digital CEO is an identity of a type of business owner that thinks differently, operates differently, does different actions. They're powerfully in the driver's seat of their business. And I believe that a lot of us have been sold on a beautiful idea of what business is. And if we become an entrepreneur, we're going to have this amazing lifestyle. And you look at all the pretty pictures on Instagram and all, wow, look at how happy they are. And everyone's really good at putting on a veneer of a great life. But I believe most people don't actually know how to run a business. And I can promise you this: if you learn how to run a business like a business, you will enjoy it more than you are now. And you will get more of those things that you were promised when you were promised and sold on the dream of the entrepreneurial lifestyle. When you learn how to run a business, the more structure you put in your business and the more you do it from this process, the more freedom you get back in your life. I can guarantee it. So that's a really powerful exercise that we do. Maybe things are starting to kind of like emerge that if I want anything to change in my business, change comes from within first. You're the answer. You're the solution. You're the magic pill. And so if I'm unwilling to change, I can't expect anything in the business to change. And that's the beautiful thing is, like I said before, this is all like a journey of our own growth, and your business becomes a reflection of your growth. And that's pretty awesome. So if you want the business to grow, we get to grow. And the way to grow is to let go. And I hope you will. So the last thing is at the top. Last thing, all the way at the top, where Natalie wrote 100,000. I leave that space for what I think is actually the most important thing. And that's something else that we get to work through. Everyone here has fears. Okay. That's like a part of the human condition. We might have a fear of this not working. We might have a fear of running out of money. We might have a fear that we're going to make a mistake. We're going to go in the wrong direction. We're going to waste a ton of time, that we're going to be let down and disappointed. And part of all of our experiences is that of fear. And the fear conversation is a big conversation. But there's really no one that doesn't have that. And some people go, I'm not afraid. I'm an unstoppable entrepreneur. It's like, but you're stressed and frustrated all the time. Fear wears many masks, my friends, and it has fooled me many a times. Fear in my life came to me as a mask of logic. I had all the logical, reasonable reasons for why I couldn't put my stuff out there, why I wasn't ready, why now wasn't the time, why there's somebody already doing it at a cheaper price, and who the heck would ever want to hire me? That's just fear masked as logic and reasonableness. We're so reasonable. We have all these reasons for why we can't, and no results, right? And so I have that final secret hack that allowed me to overpower my fears, because you have no idea how much even a micro fear is holding you back. When we will all have fear, but the question becomes, does fear make our decisions for us? Does fear choose? Or does fear determine what actions we take? And as long as it does, it will take you down. So my hack for that was the day I discovered my purpose and my reason for doing what I do. I realized that is far more powerful than any fear could have over me. Because all of the fears were about me, and a purpose can only be about others. So it's really simple. And life can, and this business path can be really simple for everybody. Life is about choice. And every day we're making choices all the time. A lot of them are unconscious, but you made a choice to show up. You made a choice to listen. You made a choice to comment. And you made a choice to start writing things down, and you're making these choices. There's a lot of choices that we make unconsciously. And every time we choose to not do the thing that we're here to do because we're afraid, we're choosing to not operate from our purpose. We're choosing to stay what is already known and familiar. We're choosing to stay where we are. And so when you begin to look at every day and every moment of every day as a simple choice, am I acting from faith and my purpose and my function for why you are here? Or am I operating from fear? And another thing I can guarantee is that if just 51% of the next 12 months, we're all human, we're doing the best we can. If the next 12 months, if every single day, 51% of the time, you chose your purpose over fear, I can guarantee you'll be further than you ever imagined. Because when you're operating from your purpose, here's what I'm here to do. Here's how I'm here to help. You'll notice there's no fear present. If you were present to the fact that there's someone out there right now that needs your stuff, they are drowning and they are asking for help, and you focused on that, you would notice in an instant there's no fear present in that. This person needs help. I can help them. Let me go help them. Because we're focused outward. We're focused on others. We're focused on, this is bigger than me. This is about making a difference in someone else's life. And in that conversation, in that context, there is no fear. Imagine what changes in your life and your business when that's where you choose to operate from. And that's pretty badass. So that's the final piece I like to pull in. And when we're driven by that, it's going to take you far, far further than a number. The metric at that top is just a measurement of how many people you're helping. And I don't want you to ever lose sight of that. So I hope this helped. I hope there's some clarity and insight that came from this, and will help you get out there and help more people.
Well, we have a lot of tears happening right now. Happy tears, I know. Happy breakthroughs, I know. So many people saying this is the most impactful call we've ever had. Can you post in the chat your biggest takeaway and thank James for this? Because this workshop, I know, has not just changed your business, but it's changed a lot of lives through the lives that are going to change through your business. before you go, James, I want to talk about some next steps because I know there'll be a lot of people on here that are like, okay, where do I go from now? I'm very, very, very excited to tell you that Boss Babe is partnering up with James in multiple different ways to bring you some really, really cool stuff on whatever level you are needing right now. So, a couple of things that I want to share as like a next step. So this recording is going to be inside of your dashboard, inside of the site. You can access this recording at any time. On top of this, we have a 2-part podcast series coming out with James at the end of this month. So make sure, actually, I think it might be out next week. The month's flying by. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. We have James's free event, Rise of the Digital CEO, which if you like this, like this is going to be like an entire course people would normally charge for this level of curriculum that's going to be out. That is coming out. The best way that you can get on there, sign up for James's waitlist. So this waitlist is going to be for James's program, Business by Design, which, by the way, when you see what we're going to be launching alongside this, you're going to lose your mind. But sign up for this waitlist. You will then get info for Rise of the Digital CEO as well, where you can sign up for that. But that's the best place to go and sign up right now. James, I am so grateful. I just want to share a couple of the things that are coming through of what's been big takeaways. Caitlin said, letting the fear go to make room for growth. Catherine said, I love how simple the message is and how you teach what others make so complicated. Ashley said that this call was the reset she didn't realize she needed. Hannah, it's lit a fire under me to move the needle in my business. I mean, just incredible. Lizzie is already in Business by Design and said it's amazing. Check it out, ladies. Yeah, you're all going to want to join. I know it, but okay. Well, James, I'm so grateful for your time. Seriously, this has just been, I mean, I've been through this so many times. I've spent hours and hours talking to you and I'm still going through this. I'm like, wait, I could be implementing this. I think I've just like implemented a whole new system in our business. Me and my team were all messaging each other. So thank you so, so much for giving us your time. Where can everyone find you and message you and say thank you and all the things?
Yeah, I hope you guys do that. Instagram would be a wonderful place. It's just my name, James Wedmore, and you can send me a DM. I'm in there as much as I can. So please do. It's a joy for me to teach this because I can feel when like things are starting to click for people. And the way I see things is my purpose is I'm here to help the helpers. And I realized long ago that the people that have the biggest gifts to help others tend to not have the gifts that come to like business and marketing come naturally to them. And that really excites me that I get to play a small role in a catalyst for helping those people get their gifts out to the world because we know that people need it. And I don't want you giving up on your purpose because you had an experience that business sucked, and it doesn't have to be. Like I wouldn't be doing it for 16 years with the same level, if not more enthusiasm and passion, if I hadn't found a way to make it truly an enjoyable experience and an effective experience too. I want you guys making money, so you deserve that. So yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so, so, so much. Everyone go sign up for the waitlist. We're going to be emailing you there with all the info. Keep your eyes peeled because this is just the beginning and we have some huge, huge, huge things launching. And I said, James, this is your gift. Yes, it is. And I'm so grateful for everyone that joined us on Instagram too. Seriously amazing. James, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, everyone. Great comments and questions. I really appreciate it. And take care. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye.